Okay, I think we can proceed to start this webinar. I think most of the attendees have came in to join this webinar from both Zoom platform as well as the Switch platform. So anyway, hi everyone, very good afternoon. Thank you for attending ACE Digital Transformation Exchange Series on the theme of sustainability today. So for this upcoming session, we have curated technologies, innovators in the space of sustainability tech. And this is the program agenda for today and the sequence of speakers of startups that we have coming here to present today as well. So, just some housekeeping rules. If you have any questions, we encourage you to leave them in the chat box at any time during the sharing. So please do include your company and your name in the chat box. And during the Q&A segment, we will be picking 1 or 2 questions to address accordingly. And each presenting innovator will also be leaving their contact details should you wish to engage with them separately. And without further ado, we will proceed the sharing by the speakers and the 4 technologies innovators in the sustainability space. And they will share with you the different trends, opportunities, and solutions you can tap on to transform your business. So first, let us welcome Brian, who leads the corporation and international department at ACE. Over to you, Brian.
Hey, thanks, Antron, and a very good afternoon, everyone. Very nice of all of you to join us this afternoon for this series of digital transformation exchange on sustainability. So my name is Brian, and I'm from ACE. I'll give a very, very short introduction on ACE, and I'm very delighted to have our partner from Nanjing, ACE International Center in Nanjing, Henrik, today to share with us the opportunities available for our community in China, Nanjing, and also very delighted to have 4 startups, Be Bright, Crunch Cutlery, Yuhu, and Water Roam with us this afternoon. So a very quick introduction on ACE. I think as many of you are familiar, ACE is the national voice for the Singapore startup ecosystem. So we have a national mandate to advocate on behalf of our community, primarily will be the startups. We also catalyze helping the Singapore startups to capture opportunities, be it with corporate or overseas opportunities, or even here in Singapore. And the other thing that we do is to build up the capabilities of our startups. So for ACE, we currently have more than 1,300 members, and we have plans to continue to increase this number of startups to be in our community. ACE focuses on a few key pillars. One of them is startup. The other will be the corporate pillar, which we do corporate innovation programs with corporates. And the whole idea is to actually connect the corporates with the startups. The third pillar will be that we are focusing on will be on risk capital. So this will be your VCs or angel investors. And then the fourth pillar that we work with in the startup community will be the Institute of Higher Learning. And then the last pillar will be public agencies. So we welcome every one of you to join ACE if you are still not a member of ACE. So that's a very quick and short introduction on ACE. And now I'll leave the time to Henrik and also to the 4 startups. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Brian. Our next speaker is Henrik, Executive Director of ACE Singapore Nanjing International Center. We'll be sharing more about the business opportunities that are available in Nanjing for both startups and corporates as well. So over to you, Henrik, please.
Hey, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Henrik Lee, and I'm from ACE Nanjing International Center. And I'm gonna make a brief introduction about our center and about what we are doing in Nanjing and what we can do for you. So Nanjing is an eastern city in China, and we have a new program in Nanjing called Singapore Nanjing Eco High-Tech Island. This is the second new program with Singapore since the SIP, the Suzhou Industrial Park. And the total area of our island is 15.21 square kilometers. I think it's like 3 times bigger than the Sentosa Island in Singapore. So the definition of this island, they focus on low carbon and artificial intelligence industry. So about our ACE Nanjing International Center, I think you have already know what ACE is, so I will just skip this. So ACE Nanjing International Center was established in Nanjing in 2019. And we connected with our East Singapore and Southeastern Asia Entrepreneurship Network. This center is responsible for international publicity and docking Southeast Asia entrepreneur innovation cooperation projects and helping Singapore and overseas startups landing in Nanjing strive for the sustainable development. And our core business here are separated into 6 parts. And for these parts, we help the local government to do the investment promotion, and we facilitate the international cooperation, and we help the projects, especially the startups, to gain government subsidies and some government grants from our local Jianye district government. And also we have our function of acceleration and incubation. We are cooperated with ACE Singapore to build our base camp, which is a training camp for entrepreneurs here. So we also help the local government to have their new events like the road shows and some talk shows here in Nanjing. And also we help the government to do their innovation management work. So basically we focus on talents and projects from both domestically and the overseas companies are in our list. And since our establishment in 2019, ACE Nanjing International Center has already provided services for 72 projects and enterprises. And we have introduced 23 domestic and overseas enterprises landing in Nanjing now. And we have organized 27 conferences, forums, and innovation and entrepreneurship events here. So this is our achievement since the past 2 years. And we also built our full industry innovation platform for the projects coming into Nanjing. We focus on artificial intelligence, biomedical, and culture and education, and new material industry. We have our 1,500 square meters working space in Nanjing, which provides very comfortable working stations for companies coming here. And we have our service system from basic services, value-added services for the companies. We have our venue space here, and for overseas company, we provide it total free. And also we have services like industrial and commercial registration and financial tax management, or some other services here. You can take a look. And also because our local government gave the startups and enterprises in Nanjing a lot of opportunity to apply for the local government grants. So we also have our science and technology policy consultation and project application service for the projects here. And so I think you have heard of our ACE member benefits. So if you have joined this, you can enjoy our basic service and enterprise service and value-added service. So they are separated into these 3 parts. If you are interested in, I can make more explanation for you. If you are interested in, and you can send emails to me or add me in my WeChat, so we can talk more for you. So I think we have membership service enterprises here from all the areas that one enterprise coming here will be in need, like FSH. They can do the innovation empowerment salon and innovation and entrepreneurship consulting for our companies. And also we have 优派橄榄, 嘉信永恒. Those companies can help you in all the different areas that you will be in need. And also our legal consultancy service and our IT service are all included in. So next part, I will give you some Nanjing policy support explanation. So I will just say this one, a high-level entrepreneurial talent introduction plan. This is what a new company or a new startup coming into Nanjing will take more focus on. In this project, if you are a selected talent, you can enjoy 500,000 to 3.5 million RMB as a startup capital. And the government will give you 100 square meters office rent free for 3 years. And also 100 square meters talent apartment and also free. You will have a priority applying for category A of the National Key Talent Project and the provincial double innovation talent. So in total, this project will give you money, will give you a free working space and a free apartment, and give you the priority to apply for some sequential talent program. And this island, they also have a special program called Zhongxin Industrial Fund, and will give a new company registered here to give you a bunch of money from 50,000 to 200,000 RMB for you as a one-time awards if you are registered here. And here are some other rewards that you can enjoy here if you have reached the standard of the government. So we also have a lot of programs and events here to help the local enterprises and startups to grow or to join in. Like we have our Sino-Singapore Youth Innovation and Entrepreneurship Competition, and we also have our market access program working with ACE Singapore. And those programs help the startups and the companies to build their image and their working their working life in Nanjing. Yeah, and here are some photos that you can see from our some of our program. Yeah. Yeah, this is the Basecamp program we held in 2019. Yeah. Yeah, here are some few project cases here. We now have 23 programs landing in our ACE Nanjing International Center, and 7 of them were from Singapore or other countries. So we have Juxing Ecology company located in Nanjing, and they also gained their government. The government have gave them a demonstrated area here for their program, and we also help this program to introduce more partners here in Nanjing to help them to grow their market in Nanjing. Yeah, and this is NDR, which is the intelligent surgery assisted robots company, and they get the government grants like 3 years ago, or like 2 years ago, sorry. And they now have been acquired by Shanghai Weichuang Medical Company. So we help them during the past 3 years to from the application of the government grants until they have been acquired by Shanghai Weichuang. Yeah, and here are also some other cases that we have been working during the past 2 years. Yeah, here are some the management team of our company. I will just skip this. Yeah, we also have a bunch of experts in our center that can help our startups and companies from different areas to know what they need to do here in Nanjing, and what technology or companies or partners that they can be cooperated with if they landed here. Yeah, and think this is the introduction of my ACE Nanjing. And if you are interested into us and want to communicate with us, you can just add my WeChat if you have. And also I will then give you my email in the chat room. And if you are interested, you can contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Henrik, for sharing on the type of business opportunities that are available for companies who wishes to, land at Nanjing. Thank you so much. And right, let us move on to the next 4 technology innovators who will be sharing more about their solutions. And our next speaker is Elodie, Head of Sales and Acting Managing Director of Be Bright. Elodie, please, over to you. Elodie,
Yep, got it. Sorry about that. Thank you very much, Anton. So hello, everyone. Yes, my name is Elodie. I'm in charge of the sales activity of Be Bright on the APAC region. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about digitalization and energy efficiency specifically, because this is what, well, Be Bright and myself are very good at in the sustainability field. So before going into the details of that, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about Be Bright, who we are and what we do, so that you understand a little bit more as well, the point of view that I will express later. So we specialize in energy efficiency, especially for air conditioning systems, refrigeration and heating as well, for in general large, I would say, commercial and industrial buildings, so offices, shopping malls, factories, warehouses, etc. And we focus not only on improving the energy efficiency of the system, but also improving the operations in general, and support our customers in the sustainability journey in general. So what are we talking about today? There's a couple of points that I wanted to talk about. The first one, before talking about the value of digitalization in energy efficiency, is like, what is the traditional approach, right, to energy efficiency? Once we've been through that, we can talk a little bit about what we can do with digitalization, and then some examples of, for instance, the projects that we have deployed with this technology. So the first thing I want to talk about is the difference between energy efficiency and energy conservation. I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with that. So energy efficiency, for instance, is making sure that for a certain service delivered through electricity, there is a minimum consumption of electricity. So for instance, an energy efficiency measure would be to replace your old light bulbs with LEDs, right? energy conservation would be to determine exactly how much of a certain service that you would need. So going back to my example, it would be turning off the light when you leave the room and there's no one else needing the light for, right? Traditionally, as far as air conditioning systems are concerned, there has been a very strong focus on energy efficiency and not so much on energy conservation. So it hasn't been, I mean, it's relatively classic to, in like large commercial facilities, for instance, to see people wearing jumpers because the aircon is way too cold while outside it's more than 30 degrees. And this doesn't really make sense, right? But why has there been a focus like this historically? Is like, first of all, the need in terms of cooling will vary throughout the day, throughout the year, etc. It will depend on the weather, it depends on the occupancy, it depends on how those two parameters are going to vary in the next half an hour or an hour. And it's very hard to capture this variation through traditional means and to be able to adapt the control strategy of the equipment to make sure that you deliver only what you need. That is your first point. The second point is that it is much harder to measure a reduction in terms of kilowatt hour, so in energy conservation, as opposed to an improvement of the inefficiency ratio, right? So those two parameters made it so that we focused traditionally on energy efficiency as opposed to energy conservation, and most of the strategies that are deployed traditionally are on this. What type of solutions am I talking about when I'm talking about this? There are two, I would say, main solutions that we can see on this sector. The first one is called BMS, a building management system, which is basically a control system for your air conditioning system. So installing a new system like this or upgrading your system like this will improve your energy efficiency. But it is costly because it's a lot of hardware and it's a lot of hardware to maintain throughout your system. It can be sometimes very complicated to use. And it has what we call a static program logic, right? So it will turn on your system at 8 a.m. in the morning, set it at 24, turn it off at night, for instance, and that's it. It's not going to vary throughout the day depending on the need. The other option that we see is usually the retrofit of facilities, or what we call energy performance contract or EPCs, where they would change, for instance, a chill plant room. That will definitely make it more efficient, but it also comes at I would say, environmental cost of manufacturing, delivering, installing the system, etc. So it's not something that you can really do every 2 years, for instance, because arguably financially it's not going to be a very good deal either, and not from an environmental point of view. So now that we've said that, what does digitalization allow us to do on top of this, right? I'm not saying that these solutions are not good, but they're only half of the way, if I can say, and there's the other half that digitalization helps us to cross. So digitalization basically allows us to move from a scheduled control, like we see that was on the BMS, to an intelligent control that can vary, that really adapts the control strategy to all of those parameters that influence the need in terms of cooling requirements and the comfort level inside the building, etc. So for instance, being able to anticipate the fact that it's going to rain in half an hour, and if you don't change anything, people are going to be freezing cold inside, as it happens way too often. So that's really a big value of digitalization. That's possible because, well, once you have the data available, you can analyze this data, you can take decisions on this data, and you can apply those decisions directly to the system. So you don't need the human basically to look at this analysis and take actions on that. Because when we're talking about large commercial or industrial facilities, we can come up to 50,000 different control points on a system. So it's not at a stage where a human could do it manually and do it as efficiently as possible. So that's where the computing, the digitalization really starts making sense. One of the other value that we have seen in digitalization is the ability to have a more holistic approach to the optimization and to energy efficiency. So for those who are not familiar, an air conditioning system is split in 3 subsystems, if you want. There's the production side, which produces the cold, which is usually in a fluid. So here it's mostly water. A distribution system, which is pumps, which is distributing that cold water throughout the building. And the emission side, the air side, as we call it, which is transforming that cold water into cold air and distributing it in the building. Traditionally, energy efficiency solutions tend to focus a lot on production and a little bit on distribution, but tend to oversee and overlook completely the air side, the emission side. So because of the digitalization, because of being able to gather all of this data and because able to analyze, I would say, even very high number of points, we can also control the emission side, and so have a very holistic view of the optimization of the system, because all of those subsystems obviously have an impact on the other. And if you control just on one side, then you're going to miss opportunities and have impact on the other that you do not necessarily foresee. So that's a very important point. And the last point I wanted to talk about was, as we mentioned, the first thing that one of the first two things that I mentioned, one is the complexity of identifying the varying needs, so that we just talked about. And the second point was, how do we measure the actual savings, right? And so I would say through digitalization and use of machine learning algorithms and etc., we can also establish more, I would say, performance baselines or references, even in kilowatt hour and not in efficiency ratio, to measure exactly how much has been saved. So this is an example, for instance, of what is possible. Within blue, the baseline, so the reference, what would have happened without the energy efficiency solution, and in yellow, what has actually happened, right? And so the difference is the savings. And you can see that both of those lines vary throughout the day and throughout the span of 2 weeks here, and they're never the same because all of those parameters always change, and it's important to be able to capture them. And once you have achieved those types of baselines and references, then you can also afford to have, I would say, more relevant business models where you really focus on the value that has been created and you share the savings and do not have to charge for any CapEx, for instance, for the installation. So this is really also something that is important, that was brought with digitalization. Finally, I wanted to show a couple of examples, some of the results that can be achieved with this type of solutions. The first one is a logistics warehouse. So that has it has an electricity bill of 2.5 million annually, right? So it's quite a large space. They have about 90,000 square meters, I think, of storage. And so the type of strategies that we deployed was to anticipate the external condition changes. So we talked about the weather, but also in terms of the activity. So in a warehouse, when a truck arrives, they have the shutter doors that are opening, they have goods coming in and coming out, etc. So this has an impact on the temperature and how much you actually need to cool the facility. And in terms of the results, we're looking at 37% energy savings on the air conditioning system. And at the bottom right of the slide, you can see, as I was mentioning earlier, the baseline. So the color is actually reversed compared to the previous graph. The yellow is the baseline and the blue is the actual measured consumption. You can see at the beginning, before the control, before that solution was deployed, the two lines matched, and the minute we start deploying, then there is a drop and we can really see the savings achieved there. The second one I wanted to talk about is the more, I would say, commercial type of facility. It's an office building. There's two reasons I wanted to talk about this. The first one is that this is what we call the Green Mark Platinum facility. So it's already very efficient, right, in terms of energy efficiency. And because it's a more commercial space as well, there's a very strong focus on comfort, because after all, that's why air conditioning system is so present in our region, right, because it's a question of comfort and well-being. And even in that, I would say, very efficient facility, we still managed to generate 17% savings, mostly coming from energy conservation strategies and not purely energy efficiency. And throughout also, because of that ability to adapt the control strategies to variations in the weather, for instance, we also managed to improve the comfort level throughout the facility. And so make life easier as well for the operations team and not just on the efficiency side. And I think I will be about it on my side. So if you have any questions, happy to take them afterwards.
Thank you, Elodie, for providing such an insightful sharing on the energy sector, and how Be Bright can really help companies to consume electricity in a smarter, efficient, and cheaper way while reducing carbon footprint. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and our next speaker, is Anna, co-founder of Crunch Cutlery, and Crunch Cutlery has been, gaining a lot of traction over the past few months and gaining a lot of awareness as well. So Anna, please, over to you.
Thank you very much. Let me know if you can't hear me all right. Let me just share the screen. Oops. Sorry, a little bit chaotic on my end. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, awesome. So thank you very much. Yeah, so I realized that we're a bit short of time, so I'll keep this short and sweet. My name is Anna. I'm the co-founder of Crunch Cutlery. I think we're the only company in the lineup here that makes food, so I hope you're excited about food. And what we are is that we are inventors of the most nutritious and sustainable cutlery that exists in the market. So yeah, so why here and why now? I think for startups, a lot of us will have to answer the question, why are you even here? We are here because we see an opportunity in the market, and the opportunity comes from increased awareness in the sustainability space. So all around the world, we see companies taking action, countries taking action against single-use plastic. It comes out in a form of all-out ban in the case of the Western world, and partial bans that we see in Southeast Asia. And that actually creates a lot of opportunity in the disposable cutlery space because it uses a lot of plastic, but it's only for a single-use occasion. So right now, the scene is set that plastic cutlery or single-use plastic is public enemy number one, right? So there's a lot of talk about stop using it, try and avoid it. We've got to reduce it because it's an ongoing problem. And for a given period of time, a lot of people thought, hey, biodegradable cutleries could be the solution. It's made of wood, it's made of bamboo, it's made of starch, it's made of corn. What could go wrong, right? And what we are seeing is that actually there's more and more literature coming out saying that actually, it's not the be-all and end-all solution that we thought was the sort of like savior from plastics, because there are a lot of factors when it comes to sustainability with biodegradables. For example, in a place like Singapore, where we burn all of our garbage, there isn't really time for biodegradable plastics to take action. Secondly, a lot of the biodegradable plastics that we use actually derive from plant materials, so corn, starch, potato, and this actually takes away from the food source. So you're actually, taking away food resources and using it into biodegradable plastics that you actually end up burning. So, a lot of things have to be really evaluated in terms of what truly is sustainable. And, in the course of running our business, we realized that sustainability is actually it can be a very confusing topic for most people, and it really takes a lot of dedication to try and learn and understand. So when we look at customers and customers' habit, we try and understand why is it that sustainability is such a hard topic for most people. So this is actually a collaboration of several studies that we found, so secondary resources from the Straits Times and also from the Prudential sustainability space. And so what people are saying is that, they don't really understand how to be sustainable. So recycling is a little bit challenging for them because they don't have enough information. And so they want to learn more, they want to find out more. And also a sizable number actually say inconvenience is a key obstacle for them. But what is interesting is that, people talk a lot about lifestyle and difficulty changing. The concept of cost doesn't come up in the top 5 factors. So what we realize is that the biggest obstacle really isn't cost, but it's really about changing the lifestyle and adapting a new way of living that people find very difficult because they're so used to how they do things normally. So this is our solution. Our solution is to focus on convenience. We know that's the pain point, so let's just attack it straight away and say, let's give them a convenient solution to be sustainable. Okay, so and therefore Crunch Cutlery is here. So what is Crunch Cutlery? What we do is that we take something that you're very familiar with, like a biscuit or biscotti, and we enrich it with fiber and immunity because we believe in giving people what's good for them as well as for the environment. And we transform it into a cutlery. So the way to envision our product is really a biscuit that you can incidentally use to eat your cutlery. Oh, and by the way, it's not just delicious, it's not just great for you. You also do not use any plastic cutlery in the process. Okay, and so this is where we really distinguish ourselves from our key competitors, because we see the existing players in the markets really struggling to convince people between plastic cutlery and edible cutlery, right? So what we are saying is that let's focus on the customers and let's focus on what's good for how we usually say it's what's good for people as well as for the environment, what's good for people, and as well as the planet. And because sustainability is still part of our DNA, while we focus a lot about the nutrition in the product itself, we concentrate a lot about the sustainability in forms of the packaging. So we move a little slowly compared to most startups because we're always thinking about the ramifications of our product. So it's very easy for us to take our product and pack it in plastic, like those clear PET plastics, and just sell it out en masse in the market, not an issue. But what is the ramification? The ramification is the plastic waste that's being generated. So for us, we're always researching on innovative and going the extra step to make sure that we are in line with a sustainable model and a zero waste model. So one of the things that we're quite excited about and we're exploring right now is actually dissolvable packaging. So the concept is 100% no waste generated. Okay. And another reason why we chose to play in both the sustainability space and the nutrition space is that for our brand, it actually opens up a lot of avenue. So biodegradable cutlery is still considered relatively new because the dominant force is still the plastic cutlery because of the cost effectiveness. So by playing in the fortified nutrition space, we actually do open up the market and gives ourselves a lot more room to market ourselves. Finally, I think this is the fun part. We also bear in mind about how people experience sustainability and nutrition because we want to make it fun. And therefore, in our product line, we do focus on a range of products so people can experience our product with different forms of flavors. So we have the sweet range, we have the savory range, and we also have the anything goes range. Okay. And also some additional information is that we're working on new fun flavors because that's what always excites Singaporeans and local people, right? As long as it's delicious, we will go for it. And I think it's true, throughout Southeast Asia and the world over as well. Yep, so that's a very quick introduction of Crunch Cutlery. Our 3 value proposition are nutrition, taste, and sustainability. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you, Anna, for advocating on how we can reduce,
No worries.
plastic waste and poor urban nutrition by using a product like yours. More importantly, not only could we play a part in sustainability, but also provides an alternative that is packed with nutrition at the same time. So it's really best of both worlds. And thank you so much. And our next speaker is Dustin, CEO of Yuhu. So Dustin, please.
All right. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet everyone here. All right. Let me just jump straight right into it. There we go. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dustin, and I'm one of the co-founders of Yuhu. And at Yuhu, we position ourselves as your first step to clean air. So maybe I'll start off with how we started the company. I met my co-founder in Hong Kong. And while we were there, we were taking our MBA program. So both of us were students. And in this school, we often had our allergies attack us. So inside the school building, inside the dormitories, we would get our allergies. I would have allergic rhinitis. My co-founder would have asthma attacks. And a number of the other students would also experience the same thing. And whenever we complain to the school or the facilities management people over there, there's nothing that's really being done. And the primary reason for that is because there's no data. People don't understand what's going on inside the space. And when you don't know what you're breathing in, that's going to make you sick, because that's the whole premise of health and well-being inside any type of indoor space. You need to know what you're breathing in. You need to have that kind of information so that you can manage it. So both of us were tinkering on this idea on how we would be able to measure and see the air that you're breathing in. So 1 year into the MBA program, both of us dropped our classes and started building a product and started building the company. So it took us approximately 3 years of R&D before we eventually launched the product to market. And this is our very first product. This is Yuhu, the most comprehensive air monitor in the market. What we do is we help you understand the quality of air that you breathe indoors. We measure 9 parameters, covering ranges from temperature, humidity, to the dust particles, to how fresh the air you breathe in is, to chemicals in the air. So we cover all of these because all of these affect your health and well-being. It affects whether you would get allergies. And our primary market when we launched the product were mainly for home users because it was something that we built to solve our own problems. And eventually, as we grew the company, we gained traction, we gained into different markets, the pandemic hit. And from the very beginning of the pandemic, we already understood that it's not just about surface cleaning and all that, because transmission can also happen in the air. So what we've done is utilizing the technology that we have, we patented and developed the Yuhu virus index. So we launched this in May of 2020, right at the peak of the pandemic. And this is the world's first, it's patented, and we would be able to give you a real-time risk assessment of the coronavirus surviving and being transmitted indoors. So this is a completely new concept at that time when we launched it, because the coronavirus survives in a specific environment. And if your environment stays in that manner, they can survive longer. Instead of being deactivated much earlier, they can survive up to approximately 14 days inside that environment. But if you tweak your environment to optimize it, that is better for your health and not so effective for the virus, you can cut down the survival time to just 36 hours. So that reduces the risk of the virus surviving in the environment. And the same case for transmission. The more aerosols there are in the environment, the more transmittable it becomes, because the virus can latch onto these aerosols and float in the air. But if you're able to reduce these types of aerosols through proper ventilation, through proper filtration, you would also be able to reduce that risk. So the whole idea is we want to help people address the coronavirus or the COVID-19 pandemic by reducing that risk indoors through engineering. So instead of trying to clean the space continuously, there are other ways that we can address that through proper engineering, through science as well, and through proper management of buildings. And as the pandemic progressed over the last few months, over the past year or so, we also started seeing much more demand for our solution in the business space, in the workplaces. And that's why we launched the Yuhu Aura and the Yuhu Business Solution. So what we've done here is, instead of just catering to residential customers, we also started addressing the corporate market as well. So our solution here is more focused on offices, hospitals, hotels, government, warehouses. So any floor space, we would be able to give you a real-time assessment of your environment so that you can create more peace of mind for people when they come back to work. So what that shows is, you as a company, you take care of your employees because you're concerned about their health. So it gives that very good feeling for employees when they come in, that there's peace of mind, that there is less worry for them when they come into the office because the employer themselves take care of people's health. So in line with this trend, what we're also seeing on how the whole built environment is evolving, over the last 10, 20 years, it's always been focused on being green, on trying to reduce energy. But when you construct a building and you try to optimize it for energy, what you're doing is you're making the whole building airtight. And when it's airtight, it means that there isn't enough airflow in the building. And if there's not enough airflow, you're going to lower the air quality and the environmental quality inside the building. So there's that trade-off. If you make the building really energy efficient, you're potentially lowering the quality of life within that building. But you don't really know when that is happening or not, because you don't have that information inside the space. And that's something that we're also addressing, because our focus is about health and well-being. And when you have this kind of data, you would be able to also better adjust your heating, your ventilation, your air conditioning system, and optimize it to keep the space comfortable. So when we look at the whole built environment industry, it's also moving and accelerating from just green buildings into healthy buildings. So it's not just all about energy right now, because when you look at the cost of a building, only approximately 9 to 10% of the building's cost is on energy, whereas 90% of it would be on people. People using the building, the employees managing the building. If people are not productive, your cost to managing the building would become higher. And that is where the whole built environment is going. How do we create healthier spaces? And that's something that we're really focused on and helping our clients do. And from the very onset, when we started the company, we weren't really focused on just building products and selling the products. We also wanted to make sure that what we build has an impact in society. So when we started building the company, we already made sure that we were following and contributing to the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals. And particularly when it comes to our product, we're very focused on SDG 3, which would be good health and well-being by creating healthier spaces. SDG 11, wherein our solution can be interconnected with different buildings, different products, different solutions, different technologies to make cities more sustainable and to create more smarter buildings as well. And we do work with different governments and by partnering with them so that we can help to achieve this goal much faster. And something that we do internally with our team is also SDG 5, where we have gender equality. We always keep our team at least 50% female. So we always want to keep that kind of ratio. So these are the SDG goals that we as a company are very much focused in when we, as we go along this road of building the company. So yeah, that brings me to the end of my presentation. We'd be happy to connect with anybody in the audience and happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dustin. Thanks for sharing, how your solution can really help create a healthier, safer, and more comfortable homes and workplaces. And I'm sure, if anyone is keen to improve their mental health being and how they can breathe better, this is your solution to go for. And next up, our last speaker, is David, founder and CEO of Water Room. David, over to you, please.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm David, co-founder and CEO of Water Room. At Water Room, what we do is we provide clean water solutions to the world. And when we think of clean water, I think a lot of us think about the Marina Bay skyline, the lovely reservoirs we have here. MacRitchie is one of them, and also the tap water that we typically turn on from our homes, and you get access to clean drinking water, right? But 7 years ago, I came to this realization that it wasn't the case for many of the other countries out there in the world. In fact, many of these countries in red are those that critically face a shortage of clean drinking water access, and that amounts to 2.1 billion people in the world. Almost many of them are in Asia region, right? Personal and various trips to various countries around the region also helped me and my co-founders to realize that this is a reality. It is not just images from Google, but it's personal images that we took as we were traveling into many more underserved and remote communities around the region. Adults and children were still drinking directly from unsafe water sources, murky water sources that many of us would otherwise have shunned and complained immediately to the authorities when we see such conditions. But for many of these communities, they are resorting to this on a day-to-day basis. Children are the one who will be affected most, and as a result, many of them are affected in being able to attend school on time because of their medical health conditions. They may be facing diarrhea on a day-to-day basis, and they think that this is part and parcel of growing up. So we try to understand what is the issue out there with existing solutions. And we realized that it wasn't that there was a lack of solutions when it comes to provision of clean drinking water. For example, the laying of pipelines and having centralized treatment in Singapore, that's very rampant and it's working very effectively. But when it comes to remote communities, these solutions will not work because it is too hefty in terms of the capital cost. The pipelines needed are too extensive, and as a result, 75% of construction costs actually goes into this water distribution, and it tends to be too inhibitive for local government to be able to set up. As a result, we see that many scattered populations that are not centrally located, they will find a lot of challenges trying to do centralized treatment plants. Other solutions like portable filtration solutions tend to be very complex, bulky, require a lot of engineering know-how, which may not be accessible or available locally. On the other spectrum, you have more traditional filtration and treatment solutions for water, but they tend to be much more lower in water quality, and a lot of times it is not safe for consumption even after going through sand filters or ceramic filters. Other solutions like boiling water is still something we use very frequently, but this actually consumes a lot of time and is a very big hazard in many locations. Bottled water is this fast and quick way to solve this problem, but it's very, very expensive. In terms of costs, let me share more about this with you. Rural populations tend to pay a lot more because in comparison to, for example, a household here in Singapore, based on MOM statistics, the average household income may be making US 8,000 per month, but we're consuming 18,000 liters. We pay PUB approximately $35 per month, and this is just 0.4% of the urban income. Now, in comparison to a household in most developing countries around, including Cambodia, their household income may be an average of 200. They're consuming 10 times less of the water because they're not using as much for flushing down the toilets, but they're just using it really for their hygiene and sanitation. For this, they're already paying anything from 1.7% all the way to 36% for bottled water. So imagine paying 1/3 of your income just for the access to clean drinking water. It is why we see that this issue of access to clean water is still so prevalent in the world today because of this inhibitive kind of costing for the various solutions. To make matters worse, many of such communities are not as resilient to natural disasters, and so the painstakingly built infrastructure could also be wiped out overnight. Asia is one of the most hit by natural disasters every year. In fact, 130 million people are affected on a year-to-year basis. So this makes the situation even more dire. So in light of this, we decided to come together. My two other co-founders who I met in NUS from environmental engineering. So we decided to tackle this issue because we felt that in Singapore, we have been very privileged to be a hub for water technologies, and we have access to these technologies and this ample supply of clean water, and that is something that we should be strongly believing in the equality of clean water for many others out there in the world. So the first thing we did was to ensure that we were able to understand the situation well. We partnered with NGOs and governments in many countries around the region to do a lot of field studies and analyze what are the existing solutions they rely on. This is very different from what most other career tracks would be. We were venturing into the outfield and doing a lot more interactions in this more difficult and harsh conditions on the ground, even as we are about to graduate, right? Along the way, we were also developing our prototypes and products, testing out various kind of technologies that could potentially work. But unfortunately, we have went through a lot of difficulties and challenges. For example, one of our early prototypes looks like it works from a scientific and on paper point of view, but in the end, it was too bulky. Some of our team members, one of them, he actually broke his back, had a spinal slip disc surgery that needed to be done because this solution was just too hefty, too heavy for carrying. Other solutions that we then provided, which were more portable, and that was what we thought, but in the end it seemed to be too slow. It wasn't fast enough in its provision of water. We improved the design and thought it was going to work better, but subsequently it was also too complex. There were too many hoses running around. When it was not intuitive enough, the local people would find it very challenging to be able to utilize. So we came up with 3 principles of design, which was our solutions need to be safe for consumption according to local and international standards. It must be simple to use so that even laymen can be able to use without a lot of engineering know-how. It must be swift to deploy so that it can reach into hard to reach locations, and also be quick to be able to set up and maintain. So in light of this, there was an aha moment when finally we saw somebody using a bicycle pump to pump his bicycle, and light bulb went on when we thought, why not incorporate this with filtration technology, and allow it to be such that there can be a bicycle pump water filtration design. So that was what we started to work on. And today, that is after many years, we've finally been able to roll this out. So we've produced a bicycle pump, one of the most portable in the world, and able to provide a high volume of clean drinking water with every pump. We strongly believe that this is one of the highest efficiency portable water filtration pump in the world as of this moment. And every stroke of the pump will be able to generate 250 liters of clean drinking water without the need for further chemical treatment, and without the need of any like boiling or further post-treatment. So it removes bacteria and viruses immediately. This is how it works. You find a source water, set it up, within just 1 minute, start pumping, and immediately you can get 20 liters of clean water within 5 minutes, and of course, as long as you keep pumping. Right. So far, we've been able to deploy this across 38 countries, including many disaster situations, working with international NGOs around the world, including the Army, SAF, including right now the Myanmar situation, where many of them are actually fleeing from the local urban cities, but into the more rural locations. They are actually carrying our solutions in order to have access to clean drinking water supply for many of the communities. On a rural day-to-day setting, we are also seeing health centers or polyclinics locally in Cambodia integrating this into their centers, because they see that it's vital for at least basic surgery and access to clean water for their medical procedures. Yeah. Otherwise, we're also having local entrepreneurs who are using this system as a way to set up micro entrepreneurship schemes to be able to sell water locally for their communities. Yeah. And we are thankful that today we've been able to provide the communities that are previously underserved with affordable access and equitable access to clean drinking water at 0.4% of their average income. Today, we've expanded our portfolio as well to smaller solutions, larger solutions, so that we can cater to various forms of needs. But we've focused very much on treating harsh conditions where it's out there in remote regions and it may be difficult to access, but our solutions have been built for that tenacity. So we're thankful that we have been able to reach out to 130,000 people across 38 countries, mostly across Asia. We have various distributors locally to represent us and to support us in our distribution. So we're continuing on this journey to ensure that there are 3 million people that can have access to clean water every single year by the time it comes to 2025. And these are all our various social impact that we will embark on along the way. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share with you, and happy to take any further questions later on in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for sharing on how our solution can provide safe drinking water to the communities in rural and disaster-hit regions, and more importantly, providing portable and yet affordable access, so as to eradicate global water poverty. So it's really, truly exciting to hear the innovative solutions and technologies that our presenter has shared today, focusing on sustainability. So with their solutions, I can truly say that we all can now live, eat, breathe, and drink healthier, and most important, in a sustainable way. So now let's move on to the final segment of the day, Q&A and networking time. So please feel free to put up any questions in the chat box, and we will read them out so that the presenters can answer your questions. I think we already had a few. And there's one question that is diverted to Henrik. So Henrik, if you can see, it's in comparison with Shanghai Free Trade Zone, does ACE recommend Nanjing over SFTZ for an AI startups? Would you take the questions, Henrik? I think it's not, but it's okay. We can move on to the next question. I think from Andy Liao, diverted to Crunch Cutlery. So another question is, how long is the shelf life, and does it contain any preservative?
Oh, right. Yeah, thank you for your question, Andy. So the products do not contain any additional preservatives. They are made of products that are very shelf stable. So think of like wheat flour, psyllium pass. So in its raw form, it has a shelf life of about 4 or 5 years. In itself, they are very shelf stable products. In terms of shelf life, we are currently conducting a test with Eurofin. So we are at this point 6 months shelf stable, and we are continuing the experiment to see how long more we can go.
Okay, I hope this answers the question. Let's wait for 1 or 2, or probably 20 seconds, 30 seconds for questions from the audiences.
Yeah, I have a question for David. This is Brian, David.
Yes.
Thanks for the introduction. I'm just curious, how often do you need to change the filter or the filtration system in the pump that you mentioned?
Right. Yeah, great question. So for us, we built the pump and the filter to have quite a long-lasting, enduring ability. So compared to many traditional filters, which you may have to change after 3 to 6 months, ours you only need to change after 2 years. And that's because we are able to incorporate this patented design where we have a cross-flow mechanism that enables the filter to be regularly flushed out. So any sediments, bacteria buildup, or any of such blockages, it will be flushed out on a regular basis as long as you very easily turn on that valve. So that allows the system to be able to endure a lot more issues, especially when we know that in many of such remote communities, they face water which is very turbid or considered like muddy. Yeah, so for such situations, we have to build in such a feature, and yeah, because of that, it's able to last a lot longer. And when the consumers replace, it's just the filter part of it. They don't have to change the entire product, but just the filter part.
Okay, thanks, David.
Okay. Next, I think we have a questions from Melvin to Elodie. Elodie, I'm not sure if you are able to view. I'm sure you can. So I'll just read it out. Would you be able to elaborate on how the energy savings from the GM Platinum Office Tower was achieved?
Very good question. Thank you. So we looked a lot actually on the airside equipment. So some of the strategies that we deployed was anticipation of the rain. So as I mentioned earlier, even in like grid mount Platinum facilities like this one, the settings and the control strategies of the system are relatively fixed. So it turns on in the morning at like something like 7 a.m. It's at 24 degrees, for instance, and it turns off at 6 p.m. But it doesn't vary throughout the day, when the number of people, especially in COVID times, right, vary a lot from one day to another, and the weather as well. So by anticipating tapping into the number of occupants within the building and being able to anticipate that it's going to rain in half an hour, tweaking some of the parameters so that we really leverage that cold that will naturally come from outside instead of having to electrically produce that cold, was one of the main ways that we managed to perform 17% savings on that system.
Yeah, I think I hope Melvin, Elodie has answered your question.
If you have more questions, don't hesitate to drop me a message. Happy to have a one-on-one on this.
Yeah, sure. So I think in view of the time, shall not hold anyone back further. So just a last closing message. Not sure if you guys can see. I'm not just going to show the screen, so hold on. I mean, we are happy to have everyone taking out the time, your busy time out to join us in this webinar, and I hope all of you have enjoyed the event and gained some important insights in the world of sustainability tech. So please also feel free to contact the companies if you have any questions, and please reach out to ACE if you'd like to be connected with them. And the next digital transformation exchange will be on health, wellness tech. So please follow us at our social media platform and keep a lookout for upcoming events. And without further ado, I think it's time to end this session. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you to the presenters. Thank you to Henrik as well. And we hope to see you at our future events. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.